welcome to this edition of Startup Central. I'm Nayantara. This is the only show on Indian television dedicated, of course, to startups, innovation, technology, disruption, entrepreneurship. Basically, if it falls under the gambit of the new economy, it's here on ETNOW every weekday at 6 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, like all the stakeholders we feature on the show, Team Startup Central thrives on constructive criticism. We can handle it. Keep writing into us to tell us how we can improve this show, what you want to see in it, what you never want to see on the show. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. On a lighter note, we love compliments as well. You can send us those as well. Our email, and you can, besides sending us emails, you can also reach out to me on Twitter handle right at the bottom. Right, so let's begin Startup Central's today's edition with the sector in focus. It's been the talk of the town since this weekend. I'm talking about health tech. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday, August 15th, announcing the National Digital Health Mission. After that, we've actually seen a mega deal being announced of Reliance Retail buying out E-Pharmacy Netmeds for 620 crore rupees, Reliance getting a 60% stake. Now it turns out that the Competition Commission of India has received filings for Medlife and Pharmeasy to merge as well. This sector certainly buzzing, a space, e-pharmacy, which didn't even have clear-cut rules till COVID-19 and the lockdown. So I'm going to be discussing the future of this sector with Prashant Tandon of 1mg. He's been around for a long time, seen as one of the pioneers of e-pharmacies as well. Prashant, welcome to Startup Central. I'm going to begin by asking you about the big deal. I want to know what all of you thought when you said, okay, Mukesh Ambani and Reliance entering e-pharmacy, buying out one of the startups. What's next for you guys?
No, I think this is a great time for this sector. It's an indication that this sector has come of age, and the fact that Jio is interested in a space like this, I think underscores a very important point that they recognize that this is a large market, and that's been one of those things. That is this a peripheral service? Is this a core large-scale business? I think that debate is settled. Healthcare and health tech certainly has come mainstream, and that's what this reflects. And I think it's high time. In healthcare in India, we don't have, in the services space, we don't have any billion-dollar plays, and it's high time we had at least 5 to 10 of them. And I think it's coming. And to me, it's just a validation, strong validation that the sector is large, the big boys are here, and from here we'll see massive companies come out.
But Prashant, I understand it's great for the sector. We still don't have a unicorn, for example, in health tech. I like how you're sounding so optimistic, but honestly, dil didn't go a little dhar-dhar. Then Mukesh Ambani, Reliance, what's going to happen to competition? Wherever Mukesh Ambani and Reliance Jio come, they completely disrupt the sector.
No, so or at least I am fairly clear that in my mind, healthcare is not a winner-take-all market, and it is not a market where one size fits all. It is and the at least for our business, okay. And why I am not very, very worried is for us, a little more than half the business is pharmacy. Everything else is much more nuanced healthcare services, diagnostics, consultations, things we do with insurance, pharma, etc., etc. So I think we have a very diversified and broader digital health play, and I frankly don't see those parts of the business under any kind of pressure. Pharmacy will see, we've always lived in extreme competition in pharmacy, and with Jio coming in, it's just, instead of Netmeds, now it's Jio, and it will take its fair share of the market, it will make its aggressive plays, but I do not think that this is a sector that goes only with discounting. It's not a sector that goes only with capital. It's not a commodity sector. So I think while there is validation, I would like to back ourselves, our abilities to The consumer demand is at an all-time high on 1 mg. Our traffic is at an all-time high. We had almost, I think last month, 23 million unique users come on 1 mg. If consumers keep coming to the platform, if they find all our set of products and services valuable, I don't worry about that aspect. And we are in the fortunate situation where investor demand is also very strong. So I think what we are seeing is a very large sector getting created. We are certainly here to stay. We are certainly here to play. And yeah, let's see. There will be competition. It was always expected to come in. So now, game time.
So, it's also not just the Reliance and Netmeds deal that you're seeing. You're now also seeing e-pharmacies being ready to merge, right? Now, I don't know whether that's in reaction to the Geo deal or simply of coming of age. Look at what's happening, for example, with Medlife and Pharmeasy. In fact, even, to be fair, Netmeds last year had been on an acquisition spree, albeit a smaller ones, but it did acquire companies for, $1 million, $3 million, all of that. Do you think you're going to see a lot more consolidation in health tech?
I think the consolidation was imminent. There were quite a few players, and it was expected in the ecosystem that similar players at some point will probably consolidate, and we are seeing that happen. It's the natural course of evolution, and in most sectors, at the end of initially there are 10, 20, 30 players. It comes down to 3, 4, 5, and then comes down to 2, 3, 4 of the scale players who then build out their business models in their own ways. So I think we have reached that scale of maturity of the ecosystem. All the players now are here to stay. I think we will find this sector grow very, very fast, and I would not be surprised if, as I said, 5 to 10 billion dollar plus healthcare services companies must emerge.
Okay. Now, Prashant, the other thing I wanted to get your views on was that it's certainly been a very hectic time till 22nd of March. You didn't even know if e-pharmacies were going to be banned. Come middle of August, it's turned out to be one of the COVID winners, a new normal, and a normal that is likely to stay. In fact, the government is now talking about e-pharmacies, onboarding a digital ecosystem, and all of that. You want to give me a sense of how big an opportunity all of this is? You're saying how 1mg, for example, saw a surge in traffic too.
Yeah, no, I think this sector has come a long way. It was always legally actually compliant, but with regulatory concerns around it, those concerns have been put to rest comprehensively. And I think now that it's become mainstream for most of the consumers, they really had limited options during the lockdowns and got a taste of what digital healthcare really looks like and what the experience is like. And I think the surveys are saying that 70+% of the people are very happy to stick with this model. So I think we are in for a very exciting time ahead. I think the inflection point of the sector was COVID. Now we have the tailwind with us, and it's clearly imminent. Our scale is at an all-time high. Our economics are the best ever we have had, and investor interest is following the curve as well. So, and that is when the big boys actually jump into any sector. So with Geo coming in, Amazon coming in, consolidation happening, it's a bubbling sector right now. Certainly an exciting times. We'll have to make sure we execute and stay on top of our game, because no time for complacency or no leeways. Now the experiments are over. It's about execution and scaling up.
Right, so everything about scaling up, hopefully profitability too, EBITDA not being a bad word, at least in health tech, like we've seen with a lot of startups. But you're absolutely right, the big boys only come in when they see a big opportunity. So I've got to ask you this question, Prashant, and I'm asking again. is it going to happen a situation, you're saying, yeah, consolidation will take place, where the startups will have no choice but to either get merged with or be bought out by the big fish? How are all of you supposed to compete with Jeff Bezos and Amazon, with Mukesh Ambani and Reliance, with Walmart and Flipkart? How is it supposed to happen, right?
I think the very fair concern is the playing field has to stay level, and the government has a role to play there, in my view, because what we do not want is monopolization of the sector, and because that hampers long-term innovation. So, Mark, the basis of competition cannot be predatory pricing. It cannot be capital dumping, and that's where the government has a huge role to play. I hope. They've seen the story play out in multiple sectors. I honestly hope that at least for health tech, they would, considering the sensitivity of this space, at least the models will not be built on predatory pricing and capital building, so that at least the small entrepreneurs have a chance to play the game. And at the end of the day, it will be the quality of product, quality of service that will and should win. But yeah, I share your concern. It is not a viable situation if competition is eliminated through predatory action. So I think the government does have a role here, and I hope they play it.
So have there been any consultative meetings that have been called on this? Because, like I said, this is a sector which didn't have rules. You didn't know till 22nd of March if a group of ministers was even going to allow e-pharmacies. I remember there being that group of ministers which even had Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, it had Home Minister Amit Shah, and all of you used to be so worried that what's our future? Will we be allowed? Will we be shut down? And then came COVID-19. So there used to be a lot of consultations that used to take place. So have all of you now started asking for that level playing field, just making sure that, you don't have to come to a situation where there will be giveaways, freebies, predatory pricing, and then you try to solve it?
Mm-hmm. No, so I think now that the NDHM is announced, now that the playing field is much more clearer, this engagement has to start. It hasn't started yet in any active manner, but I think as industry groups, we will be taking it up. And yeah, from the government perspective, the concerns around the rules were on two parts. One is on the safety part, the patient safety part, and the other was on ensuring that the small pharmacies are able to thrive in harmony with the digital ecosystem. So I think the government was those were the things that were on mind, and those things I think still are things even on the digital side that the government will probably take up and fix. So I really think we will be seeking the government support on these things. But so far we haven't started that process. But yes, it's certainly an important conversation that will be had.
Okay, that's going to be an important conversation we're going to have, because you'll have to, first of all, make sure that the level playing field is here, stays and continues. And the very fact that the government's concerns will have to be addressed on what's going to happen to the trader community, the small chemists, where the omni-channel is going to be the way to go. Now, my last question to you, Prashant, is that, especially in the post-announcement of the National Digital Health Mission, so far you've had, startups in very strict brackets when it comes to health tech. You're either in telemedicine, or you're in, e-pharmacy space, or you provide insurance. You're going to need all of these to merge, right? And that's another multi-billion-dollar opportunity.
So at 1MG, I have always believed, I think as a team, we have always stood for integrated healthcare, that all of these have to come together for the patient. So while people still look at the e-pharmacy part a lot more, and that's in the consumer psyche, but as 1MG, we've had diagnostics, consultation, insurance, hospitals, pharma partnerships, all of these for the last 3-4 years already, and now they contribute more than 40% of our revenue. So now I think what has happened post-COVID is a recognition that these are all very important and legitimate health tech lines of business. These are not ancillary lines because pharmacy just clouded everything in the healthcare space. It used to be there's the pharmacy side of things, and then there is the doctor appointment side of things, and insurance as another vertical. I think now the integrated story, which was going to be the long-term story, what COVID did essentially is just what would have happened in 3 years, 5 years anyway, happened in 3 weeks. So, and we had taken that bet 3 years back that the world will look like that. So I think that's what, and that is one reason for us to being comfortable. Our business is not just e-pharmacy. It's not a commodity transactions play. It's a lot more nuanced than that, and all the other lines of business are not only secure but thriving. So we actually feel pretty good if the tide rises.
Okay, so you're feeling good. You've got a plan. You want to have integrated healthcare at 1mg. Prashant, you got all the funds, or are you going in for a fundraise soon? There was some news about how you would look to tap debt.
No, so I think we have very good, positive, and strong investor interest. We happen to be capitalized, so we are not in a situation where capital is a big problem right now for us. And as I said, all-time high growth, all-time low burn rate, and capital on the balance sheet. So I don't think there's much to complain at our end right now. And good investors are talking. So hopefully soon we'll also raise a large round, but we'll keep you posted on that as and when it happens.
Okay, so congratulations in advance for that fundraise and all the very best. But thanks a lot, Prashant, for joining us here to just understand how health tech is progressing. You know, there's been so much news around it. It's clearly been the sector in focus, like I said, since Saturday, but of course, during the entire pandemic. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. You're watching Startup Central. We've got a lot lined up for you on the other side. In fact, we'll also be talking to a furniture e-tailer. Is Pepperfry worried about Reliance Industries snapping up Urban Ladder? That and a lot more coming up.